Bananas. Bananas, amigos, when they were brought by this person that we mentioned, Minor Cooper Kid, and he finally spread it out and everything. He did a company called Northern Railway, right? And he got already 99 years no taxes and everything. So he went to North America and they got a meeting with Boston Fruit Company. Right? Boston Fruit Company used to buy bananas throughout America, right? Central South America, and they have the commercial over there. But then Minor Cooper Kid, he have the production over there in South and Central America. So then they unified, and that's where this United Fruit Company shows up, right? That was the new name, the United Fruit Company. When we got United Fruit Company, amigos, it was not a right company, right? They did a lot of things, right? Not good things, like even killing people for getting lands, even we used to have cacao back in time, right? They even brought fungus to kill their production to buy the lands cheaper, right? So stuff like that. No healthcare system, no, a lot of things that even they got so strong. Remember I said Minor Cooper Kid, that they did what he could do possible in the politics on paper, right? On his side and everything, right? So workers, pregnancy girls, using chemics, protections and stuff like that. So Costa Rica used to be one of the, still over there, but we're getting better because nowadays we do work on being green, but Costa Rica used to take a lot of pesticides, right? So these been changing a little bit, right? More on eco-friendly, right? Products that we got around there. But they used to have very strong products like the red brands that we test. For example, we got red, yellow, green, right? So red is the worst. So they used to have that with no protection, for people getting sick and stuff like that, and even dying, and no healthcare system. Right? Back in the time. Well, that thing changed, of course. United Fruit Company, they got their payback. They got problems with Susario, right? Minor Cooper, Henry Maid, Minor Cooper, all these family dies due to cholera and all the yellow fevers and stuff like that. So their family didn't want to go on the business of bananas, and they sold it to Chiquita. See, Chiquita nowadays got what United Fruit Company used to be, right over there. And Chiquita was the one who actually brought Cavendish, right? That was the one who brought Cavendish, and the method on putting on the box and treating it better and stuff like that, right? But yes, that was, of course, now they do need to follow up recycling stuff. For example, the plastics, right? They do have to recycle that to do other products and stuff like that. Chemics, apparently 90% of the chemics that are products that they use are green, right? Or eco-friendly. There's still few that are not that green because they haven't found something better against Musadio or something like that, right? That is a struggle. And why we have just cabbage? Because big companies like Chiquita and Dole, they're not producing the little ones that cannot deal with Musadio, right? So they're not plantating 100,000 acres of this little species and impossible dies, right? There's a possibility that they get to die, right? So they're just producing cabbage. You get to find locals cultivating the other species, or even they become like little local companies, and they do sell it over there to nearby countries and stuff like that, right? Which is the little version. It's very sweet. You get to try it. Hopefully, right? Go for it. You will love it. We have a very little sweet bananas there. There's a lot of different varieties. Plantain, of course, is another variety that we have. But well, bananas, amigos. When we finally got that, nowadays, remember, is the one that gives the best employment in Costa Rica, or one of the good employments in Costa Rica. Most of them, though, are not Costa Ricans. I'm not saying that there is not Costa Ricans, but most of them are not Costa Ricans. because in there it's where people who don't really have a background goes to work, right? They're selectors, cleaners, pickers, right? Stuff like that. Of course, we have labs, so there are even scientifics on this, right? So they get better payment. There is the administrations and stuff like that. They do get better payment. But when we talk about the wage, right? Most Costa Ricans do have a background because it's something strong here is education, right? So they are Costa Ricans because they didn't find jobs or something. Like they do have a family to worry about and they have to go, right? But most of them are Nicaraguans, right? The ones who work. Yeah, lowest wage established by government is actually $550, between $550 to $600 per month, right? Which is not enough. That's an estimation of $1.50 per hour. Okay, Costa Rica is one of the most expensive countries in Central America, right? So, and this haven't changed even before COVID. That everything in war and everything, that everything is way more expensive, right? So even gallon of gasoline over here, you get to find a price pretty much United States. Like, yeah, we have that, right? Yeah. You have the coffee and the you get the whole field there. You get all the way back. Yeah. It's funny because you see there is no fence and there are there are people who do get some, people who we probably because there is no fence we don't even get it. Right? Exactly. If there is a fence, like you cannot everybody will be like taking over the whole plantation there, right? But yeah, it's not enough because Costa Rica is the most expensive country. But doesn't mean that it's bad. Costa Rica has a lot of good things. That's why companies like Intel and all this, they are here because crime is better. It's not the best, but it is better. So it's kind of balanced. Politics is getting better, right, and everything. Of course, we have a lot of taxes, and that's a good reason that we have tourism have made it a little bit more expensive for locals, right? So you don't see much locals visiting. But well, the thing is that even electricity and all this, it's increasing and they earning the same, right? Yes, you can. Costa Rica is one of the most visited countries in the world with people that just retire after they retire, right? You can come, you can buy land, you can have a healthcare system, you can have all that in Costa Rica. Of course, it depends where you go. You find cheaper lands or lands as expensive as the United States, right? If you go to Pacific, that is a lot more touristic. You will find that over there. There is where you find condominiums, hotels, Miami style, let's say. Probably not similar, but let's call it like that. Here in Limón or Atlantic, in general, we do not have 5-star hotels, right? Tourism here is strong, but it's more like a lodge, rural, right? That is a different tourism over there. So exactly, right? And there, of course, there are people for everything, right? So what happens that they're still more expensive and probably it's not as pretty as here, but it's because there are fancy people who live in there, right? So everything gets to be expensive. Exactly, right? So over here it's not. So lands can be, like you can buy an acre around here maybe with around $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 more or less, right? 1 acre, yeah. Fine. Of course, depends on the house and everything too, but you can find a little half an acre, even shorter, shorter with a house in these areas. You can find it for $30,000 or $40,000 over there. It depends out there. Of course, let's say not too small, not too big, right? Something good enough with maybe with a little backyard over there. But yes, you can find it like that. But yes, you go there, you can find crazy numbers too, right? Because a lot of areas are actually owned by tourism, right? Rents, right? So they know the prices. the other prices where you guys coming from. So it's like, this is too cheap. It's like, so from where you are, from New York, okay, different price. But from there, it's like that. Oh well, I mean, where we going? In this banana, there's something that I will point it out, right? Because in the bananas is still a hard job, right? A hard job. People get paid with different ways. It's like contract, sometimes per hour or per contract, right? So it depends on what they're doing. For example, each flower of the banana. Have you seen the bananas flowers? Okay, no, yes, okay. Some yes, some no. I'll try to point it out over there if we get to find one to show you the flowers. There are people who get paid by every flower they check, the more acres they get to check. So each plant that you saw there, it can have a plant or a flower, so they check that. They check the best flowers, the best good looking flowers since there are flowers, right? So a whole bunch of flowers can be, it could be this high, and it can have more than 500 flowers. But just around 2 to 3 at most turns into bananas. So what happens is that even when they are growing, they get to take these off. Like the ugliest flowers and ugliest bananas that they're probably growing, but they're not good looking, they're too curvy, you know, they're like this. So these ones, they take it off because it will take nutrients for the actual good looking bananas. Right? So even since there are flowers, one whole hand of bananas that you get to buy in the market, usually a real hand there, you can have around 30 flowers. But at the finally hand, it gets to be 5 or sometimes 8 or 9, right? But it's like half of what actually have. Right? So it's because all the flowers, if they grow like that, they will be like our fingers, all, you know, everywhere, going everywhere, right? So there is a pattern that they follow, right? A size and everything that they measure, and we export quality 1, 2, and 3. So those are the qualities that we actually export